On YouTube? Okay, let me go check. Um, uh, no, no lives. Okay. Okay, there we go. It's live now. It's finally up to Rising from Oceans. Okay, perfect. Yeah, that's up now. YouTube is up. So are you using both like are we still on Twitch or yeah. Okay. Um that's actually what I'm doing right now. Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah, there's about a 2 second delay. That's good. Okay, I just said something in chat. There's also somebody else there. Hear you. Yeah, there's about a 2 second delay.
All right, how does this sound?
That's good.
Okay, here we go. Okay, we're good. We're good. Anybody that's in here, we're sorry. We're messing around.
Chat. There's also somebody else there. Yeah, you got both our audio. You're good.
Yeah. Now see with prison here, I can see the chat. Well, I could.
Yeah.
All right, how does this sound?
That's good. Yeah, you can hear yourself now.
Okay, we're good. We're good.
Yeah, you might want to turn that off because that's really.
I did.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Like I said, anyone that's out there listening, we had technical. I had technical difficulties again. It's all my fault. Even though this thing says the YouTube stream is excellent, I don't believe it. But anyway, um, okay. Let me pull up my stuff. Everybody, welcome. We're here again with Tuck.
Yeah, I said hi in chat. So
Now
if
now
anybody
you
wants
were
to know who I am,
uh yeah
oh,
you'll
I just go ahead.
yeah you'll have to rechat because I turned the thing off accident.
No, no, no. It shows up in the live chat.
Okay.
So yeah, like it's the first chat. Now, when you do your live streams, do you check the box for for the replay for the chat? Because some people like to read that stuff.
Um. Yeah. I mean, well, I did for Twitch, but like I mean, when I set up Twitch and when I was setting up this through OBS, and since this works now, I think I want to use this now. I'll go ahead and you know buy this one.
Give
This
it a
one.
week.
Yeah, give it a week and see how it goes.
Yeah, because when you get into this is the one of the most important lessons I've learned in all this stuff. Because I mean, I started off with Adobe, and I was paying like $60 a month for their whole Creative Cloud. When I could go over and I actually what was the name of it? DaVinci was so much easier for me because of the way I think, and so like I was paying for something and I wasn't even really using it. Like get to know it, find the weaknesses, see if you can work around it. Do a full Q&A like yeah, QA on this and really make sure that this is something that you can work with, because if it works one day and but doesn't work the next and you've already paid for it, you're just going to be pissed.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, this kind of feels like OBS, really. I mean, it does, and it's got the scene set up, and you can do the previews, and you can lock previews, and you have access to the actual chat if you want to. Um, Yeah, this. I mean, it feels cool. I mean, we'll say that right now. I mean, it does give me access to. The other thing I was worried about was like, is this going to use my CPU more? Is it going to use my GPU more? Because I set this system up with an extra GPU to actually do rendering and stuff. Um,
Well, you can do that in the BIOS
yeah.
and the settings. But like, yeah, because you just set priority. You have technical knowledge, right? Like,
Oh
yeah,
yeah,
I
yeah.
okay. So yeah, because you're old school enough to where you probably worked with DOS, growing up. Um, and so if you can manage that, then you can go through and work in the BIOS and set priorities and make sure that your extended GPUs are priority 1 and 2, and then your onboard GPU is like priority 3. That way you know that they're being used regardless, because the software is just going to use one,
And
two, three. It doesn't know what it is. It's the BIOS that's going to direct all that.
I think I just liked OBS because it was like open source and you know kind of felt old school and I don't know.
It's clunky. It's a pain in the ass. And unless I mean, you can do it, and a lot of what you have to do, what OBS is for, is like if you want to preload clips, and like a lot of I don't know. I know Redacted uses it, because I see how they switch in the transitions and stuff like that. They use OBS, and they've got it complex, but they have a full time IT guy that's making sure that thing runs, because it's that clunky. You're gonna have to have somebody that is like highly skilled in how to get that shit working, because
Hey Chad,
that's
I see you.
broadcast software.
We'll get to the sheep. I promise we will get to the sheep. But anyway, um,
Okay.
I'm just entering a comment there. I didn't mean to walk over you, Tuck.
Oh, you good, man?
All right. Let's start with the question I asked you earlier, and I already told you the answer, but I want them to hear because I actually made it short and I didn't.
Was this about the whole tax thing?
No, 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 no.
What was the question?
The nickname of Theodore Roosevelt in college.
Oh dear God.
I got to do it. And now let me tell the story behind it first, so everybody gets understands why.
Uh-huh.
A long time ago, a subscriber gave me a whole bunch of old diaries. Input. It was an interesting setup. And this was, I guess, her great great grandfather, great great grandfather, whatever. Anyway, he apparently went to school with that. Back in the day, people actually used to keep diaries, even men, of their day to day lives. It's something that we've lost doing. Like if you're in college, you say, "Well, I met so and so, and this person left this kind of impression on me, or I did this, or I met this person, or I fell in love with this other person." Well, anyway, at Harvard, this individual met a young Teddy Roosevelt, and apparently his nickname on campus was Foreskin, and it is the first time I have ever seen that in print.
Yeah, that is funny.
It is. It's
It's
hilarious. I mean, can you imagine? Like, I mean, back then they had. It was a kind of football, but they had. Harvard was more known for like like the rowboating and stuff like that. And Teddy was one of those guys that was supposed to be the manly man and everything else, and he went to the jungles of Africa and he hunted everything that moved, and
Yeah, but it's a word play though, because in the same way you could use bohemian or you can use hobo, because they both mean the same thing. They're both the same, come from the same root. Instead of calling him a dick, you just call him foreskin.
yeah, foreskin.
So, and considering what he did with the U.S. Navy to show power by sending him halfway across the world and telling Congress, "Well, you figure out how to get him back." Not only was it brilliant, but yeah, he was a dick.
but see, what I found interesting was I have never seen that before. I have never seen that in I may have missed something, but I have never seen it. I've seen his other names were like Big Stick and um uh, like the Iron and other things. There was a couple they used, but I have never seen that in print. I have never seen that anyone talk about that. History Channel, my teachers, anybody. No one has ever said that. And I
Yeah, that is.
and here it is. I pick up an old diary, I flip a few pages, and there it is. As I'm drinking my
Yeah.
coffee. But anyway, that was one of those little interesting tidbits that happened today, or well, late last night when I was going through a whole bunch of cramps in my belly and I was trying to prep for the show. I spotted that and I got a chuckle. So anyway,
The topic I'm looking forward to is the not paying taxes.
okay. This is let's start there. Yeah, well, let's start there. Since we're talking about old presidents and things, and he was one of those that was semi for and semi against taxes. He had a whole idea and division about how the country should be run. It's definitely not run the way it is now. Um,
Teddy Roosevelt not only was a socialist, but he was a populist president in the same way that Donald Trump is a populist president. But he was elected to go after the robber barons, which is where the antitrust acts and all that stuff come in.
true, true, and like the break. Chat, I see you. There are more certain stories coming, and we will if I can remember, we'll touch base on that. I don't know if you remember, but there was actually a movie in the works. There was a independent thing that somebody was working on that got
I'm
rights from
aware
me.
of it.
Yeah. But yeah, there was actually a whole new set of Edward or CERN, Dr. Edward Mental stories that are coming along, and I think you guys will enjoy them. Always, I hope you will
You
anyway.
you got anything to tease us with?
No, no, not on that yet. I'm like I said, it's well, actually, I did post some stuff on Reddit, and I did post some stuff on Facebook. But they're and I think that there's actually some shorts that I posted as I was prepping for to start back with this. Uh, I have like a whole series of basically file or well, it's called the Dr. Edward Mental files or the Mental files, and it explores a lot of the events and stuff that you can run parallels here to what's actually going on in our world. Um,
You think it's that cataclysmic to where it actually is influencing things going on here because they're smacking matter together, aren't they?
they are. I mean, the people at CERN, we might as well talk about it. But we'll get to the taxes here soon. but but people at CERN, they are, and I actually know quite a few people at CERN. Um, when I wrote the first CERN story, I was one of the only ones that CERN actually tried to go after legally. Um, they were pissed off. You can go back and you can look up old court records from Switzerland, and they're trying to figure out some ways to get me. I mean, that's how bad it was. Um, Basically, because people were calling the office asking for Dr. Edward Mentel and asking them about this story and asking them about the things that I was saying. And be honest with you, a lot of it, well, a lot of what I said is true, and a lot of it is based in fact and based on either personal experience or people that I've spoken with. Um, and there's some other stuff that's hidden within that, but but yeah, there's a sign. Like I said, I know a few people out there, and here recently, there's a scientist that come out and said that they don't have any idea what they have done. They said that with these recent experiments, they have opened up something under CERN they cannot explain. And I thought that was bluff or smoke, but no, I do believe them now. I mean, especially with Google's quantum computer. How familiar are you guys with Tesla?
Um, you asking Chad or you asking me?
Well, I'm asking you in general. You know.
Oh, you said you guys. So,
Yeah.
I'm somewhat familiar. I mean, I know a little bit of it. My ex-wife works for his solar panel company.
No. I'm talking about Nikolai.
Oh, Nikola Tesla.
Yeah.
I've learned quite a bit about him, and even the guy that I read, Meyer, talks about him and the Doomsday Machine, and he actually tells a little bit of an excerpt of what happened and around that, and actually whether or not it exists. Because after Tesla was killed, I believe he was killed. Um, uh, uh, they the government was the first ones to show up and go through his stuff because they were looking for his doomsday machine. And some people think that it was a hoax, and some people think that the records are still out there. And that's really what the government's been interested in with Tesla the whole fucking time.
Oh yeah, I agree. There's was it you or somebody else that had some kind of connection, like a family member that had some kind of connection with the warehouse. You know where his papers and stuff were kept, and there was.
I talked about so the guy that I read, Billy Meyer, what he said was, because we talked about time travel, and he kind of explains how it works with him and how he's able to time travel with these beings, so on and so forth. That's why I sent you the documentary last night, because he's the only UFO contactee that has 5 forms of evidence that have been vetted by Lawrence Livermore, Marcel Vogel at IBM, the Naval Sound Lab. I mean, these were people that did not believe in UFOs, and all they could say is it's not something that we could do. And this is before Photoshop and all this. This is like 75 to 79. And 2 counter espionage specialists and retired Colonel Wendell Stevens go down and do this whole investigation, and they make a documentary about it. Okay, so you could fall on either side of the fence. I just chose to kind of follow that. But anyways, so as he goes back in time, with his friends, they get to meet Nikola Tesla, and they're letting him know that his doomsday machine does not need to get into anybody's hands because it would destroy the whole planet if it got into the wrong hands. And so he supposedly destroyed it, and just let it just continue as a myth. So the doomsday machine was created, but you'll never find it, and it was ensured that it would never be found.
I can believe that. Now, in his works and writings and stuff like that, there was a mention of a car that he actually made. Well, not the actual car itself, but he created an engine, the perpetual motion engine that was inside a car, and it could go anywhere, and everything else. It relied on the power of the earth. And
I've looked into all that. Yes, I know exactly what you're talking about. I might have some.
I met a guy in New York that said he had this thing. He showed me this thing. And it did run. It was an old vehicle. It ran. I mean, it was what you would expect from that era. I mean, he didn't let me sit there and pull it apart or anything, but I mean,
Oh, there used to be videos on YouTube about this before it got scrubbed. There was a little infomercial that came up on YouTube right was YouTube was coming out, and it was about they were there's an experiment going on in Thailand where they have this one perpetual motion device that is started with a 9-volt battery, and they're powering whole warehouse rows. I even talked to a guy at PGE about it, and he went to go look for it. And so anything that comes up with perpetual motion devices are immediately bought up and suppressed.
oh
That's why we
yeah.
don't have it in the public. They keep telling us it's a hoax, you're crazy, da 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 da, because otherwise it would completely undermine our whole power grid.
I mean, they could still make money on it. I mean, that doesn't ever made any sense to me. I mean, they could still make money on it. I mean, for God's sake, they're talking about building nuclear reactor after nuclear reactor all over the place. They're talking about these miniaturized nuclear reactors they're starting to build. The military has designed one they can stick on a C-13, and it's the first one in history. One of the big issues about in the military is power. How do you run power to a command office and situation, and you need power. I mean, you just do. You got to run. In today's world, you have to run computers and optics, and you have to have power for the troops, and cook and everything else. And I mean, it's the fact of life. And so they started building and designing these things, and it seemed like at least the very first people or persons that would come up with this stuff would be the military. It seems like the military. I mean, if it was out there or accessible, it seems like somebody in the military would see some kind of perpetual motion device that is working on a base or whatever. That's one of the things that gives me pause because, and the reason I say that is it goes back to the whole whistleblower alien thing because now this year we have everybody and their brother that works for the military, and they're coming out of the woodwork saying, "Well, I've seen ET. I, helped run in and catch, retrieved alien aircraft and everything else." So,
Did, did you
either
ever
it exists or it doesn't.
Did you ever hear the stories back when I don't know if you're familiar with the free man movement, but I was kind of, going off into the fringe for a minute.
Oh,
And
that's
there was
fine.
this there, there was this guy who was going around talking about how when he was in the army, that they would go and there were underground military bases and that they would go and fight these fucking aliens and they're here and they're invading us and da 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 da. He was creating this whole alien hysteria. But it's been found out that most of these guys are 3-letter agency plants, one or military plants. As far as a lot of the misinformation and that create the hysteria. So this coming out, there's a reason for it. Somebody's going to benefit. Follow the money because the government's always known about it, kept it hush hush. Now all of a sudden they want to be open about it. I mean, nobody even takes pause. They're like, "Yay, they finally admitted it."
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I agree. I guess. I don't know. I don't know. But okay, let's see where we stopped at. We
We're
derailed.
doing Nikola Tesla and his
Okay, now let's
yeah.
let all right, let's jump off. Let's jump off the car thing. Anyway, I was trying to circle back to, and we were talking about CERN and everything, and the whole thing about if they found something, if they come up with time travel, and I do think they have. I think they come up with some type of at least portal or parallel to some version, some other dimension. And the reason now you got to think about when I say dimensions, it is really hard for us to imagine what they would look like. um, we see the world around us, and when you start thinking about a four-dimensional space, everything looks different. I mean, you can imagine it, but it looks a lot different. I mean, people or in things that are in a four-dimensional space would see everything that we do. They would see the things that we're doing. They just wouldn't be able to interact with us. They would be able.
I I think that the whole 4D and fourth dimension, I think it's a hoax. If you really think about it, just like, okay, every this universe operates at a vibrational frequency of what, like 7.2 hertz or something like that.
Yeah, and
It
that's the reason why I brought up Tesla. So keep
Yeah.
so keep that in your
Okay,
noggin there, because we're gonna circle
I'll
back
try.
around that. It's important, very very important.
Hmm.
We're going a long way around to get to that, and that's the reason why I brought up Tesla and his things with frequencies. But I was, you know, kind of telling the story of how he discovered these frequencies. But yes, it has to do with that. Um, yeah, I mean, you know that Tesla was one of the first individuals that basically made, or I don't really want to say a ham radio, but he made a device capable of transmitting and receiving radio signals.
Well, that was this whole power grid.
Well, no, he made he made a smaller one. I mean, he made a device that where he could actual, hear, like that had a speaker, because for some time there he sat in his laboratory in New York, and he would hear these sounds come back in this device that he had, and he was like, okay, I have my dish, my antenna pointed at Mars, and I'm hearing these sounds, and he thought that he was getting sounds from Martians. Okay, um,
Hmm.
which wasn't unheard of back then. A lot of people believed that you know there was life on Mars, and who knows, at that time point in history, maybe there was. You know, well, I mean, that's another thing. Do you believe that Mars was actually inhabited at some point?
I actually know a different story of Mars. Like I said, I've read this guy extensively just to figure out, like, was he full of shit, or does he make sense? But it's at least worth noting that I read it, and this is what I read. And essentially, there was life on Mars, but there is a planet that comes through about every 25,000 years. It's nicknamed the Destroyer Planet.
You're talking about,
It was
yeah,
just
yeah.
past us not too long ago. Um, and if it gets too close, it'll rip off the atmosphere. So they were still a spacefaring race. And so they ended up splitting and going to two planets, one named Melona, the other one named Earth. And the ones on Melona started fighting amongst each other and actually heated the core of the planet up and blew it up. And that is why we have an asteroid belt. And it kind of explains the Sumerian missing planet as well. But you had yeah, so we this was a migration from Mars. Part of the inhabitants on this planet are migrants from Mars, and we share their DNA.
Okay. I mean, I can buy some of that. I mean, like, anything that I think at some point, I'm not going to say human history, but I'm going to say at some point in the universe's history, I believe Mars was inhabited. I believe that there was something up there. Um, if we have talked extensively about what was it? Oh, now, God, words are hard, and my mind just went blank. You said it today, and you said it the other day. Uh, remote viewers, yes,
Yes.
yeah, remote viewers. Okay, but the who was it? The guy that worked for the CIA that would remote view and see places on Mars. I mean, there's literally CIA documents that were released
I
that can
I don't know. I don't know the guy's name, but I know of the stories.
Yeah, and I mean he's the one that found the black site in his backyard, basically. Um, it's wild. I don't know. but yeah, I think at some point there had to have been some kind of life out there. You know,
Yeah.
good or bad or whatever. Maybe that civilization's coming back. Maybe they went under. Maybe that's who we are now. You know, maybe Mars was
But that would
Atlantis.
also,
You know, maybe Mars was Atlantis. Um, you know,
nah.
well, I don't know. I mean, see, the reason I say that is like I said, I wrote a story about, and there was another sci-fi writer that wrote a story about Adam and Eve, and Adam and Eve was, well, Eve was supposed to be a spaceship, and Adam was supposed to be the seeds of life that were contained within the spaceship, the DNA, and the reason all the dinosaurs died is because Eve crashed into the Earth and spread the seeds of Adam and populated the planet with humans. You follow?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's interesting.
Yeah. That's. I mean, you know, there's like I wrote that and someone else expanded on it, and then it's a good story. I mean, and I can find parallels. I mean, uh, it doesn't seem like it would be out of the realm of possibility. I don't know. I mean, if you were, you know, space travel is hard. We know that. We're, you know, people are trying to figure out how they're going to send. I mean, even if we decide to send people to Mars, they can't come back home. You know, I mean, their body, their physiologies change. It's a one way trip.
Dude, could you imagine though our first spacefaring, like when we finally start doing it, we're gonna screw up so bad that that the crews will end up cannibalizing themselves at some point.
Oh, yeah. I don't think we're. I mean, other than, you know, the extent that we're doing now, we may have some kind of limited thing where, you know, we might actually load some people into a spacecraft and we might freeze them and they probably won't wake up, and AI will run the damn thing out there. But I don't think that we will ever get off this rock. I don't. I
I
mean,
do.
I mean, this when you look at the bigger picture and everything else, that this seems like a prison planet. I mean, um, and I mean, we haven't, you know, not helped the situation. Um, all the junk
Just
that, yeah, you know, all
just
the.
be,
Go ahead.
oh, go ahead. Sorry. So just because it was a prison planet, that may have been for a period of time. You know, they repurpose it. They turn it into a homeless shelter instead. You know, but it's still just a different kind of prison. But it's not like they're not bringing prisoners here. It's just like, you know, Lord of the Flies or something along that line. That the prisoners get to be their own governor. That's kind of really sad, isn't it? Like, sorry.
Oh, it's fine. And I mean, that actually brings up another theory that I had about the aliens. Um, you know, all these spacecrafts and these abandoned spacecraft and these broken spacecraft that's in orbit. You know, Earth is basically the only one of the only planets here in our solar system that doesn't have a ring around it, and we've kind of made our own ring in a way, a ring of junk. And but it's so bad. It's we have to time it just right. We have to run supercomputers to know when we have a certain window that we can actually launch a rocket through it. And if a species was, say, trying to come here and visit us, there's a damn good chance they might actually get stuck here or crash. You know, like Roswell. You know, the reason the reason that craft may have crashed is because it ran into some kind of junk. You know, I'm just in these other crash things. I mean, I think the majority of the crash from alien spacecraft, if they do exist, is a direct result from our stupidity. Um, um,
Yeah, but the I had something to say. I lost it. So go ahead. Sorry.
you're fine. You're fine. You're fine. I mean, I'm rambling on. Okay, all right, we're back on. Okay, when we hit Tesla. Okay, and the reason we was talking about I was talking about the car, and then I was getting to the frequency and everything. Or you were talking about the frequency, and
Yes.
and
Can I? Am I able to finish that statement now?
yes you are, because we're getting ready to get
Okay.
right in there.
So when we're talking about parallel universes, considering we're on a frequency, if it's just a few hertz or millihertz or whatever, or just a fraction of a second of a difference. Think of it like this: like when we do when we do the go live, you and I know what we say, but about 3 or 4 seconds later we hear it. That is the extent of dimensions in a lot of ways. Like, I don't think like this whole fourth dimension and fifth dimension and all this other stuff. There's somebody's taken somebody else's work and perverted it, and that's part of what this whole new age bullshit became. And I got to watch it come up with oh, what's his name? He looks like David Spade. He calls himself a psychic and all kinds of stuff. He's fucking loony.
Um,
Kind of like David Icke. You
cro-
know,
cro-
David Icke was on Australia Today in the '70s, claiming that he was that he was the second coming. And when everybody laughed him off stage, now all of a sudden, he managed to make it by coming up with fucking reptilians.
are you talking the first one you were talking about? Are you talking about the guy that done all the crossing over shows?
He's the one that started the whole 4D bullshit. Him and some fucking crazy lady. Total yuppie. I can't. God, if there are people that follow him, man, they'd probably be ripping us apart right now. He was very popular. He still is. He's part of the oh, what's that UFO channel where they do just UFO documentaries? It's like Gaia or something like that.
Oh yeah, how much of that show did you have you? I mean, how much of that station have you watched?
I watched them in the beginning before they got to what they are now. They used to do really good behind the scenes interviews after the conventions and get to know them a little bit more, put them on camera. But after that, they just kind of went with their own agenda and kind of went. They drank the Kool Aid too much.
Oh, I agree. It reminds me of a like the History Channel or something.
Yeah. But yeah, as far as like dimensions and parallel dimensions, it's not about fourth dimension or anything else like that. It's about just being a fraction of a second, just being a vibrational frequency, 2 or 3 notches one way or the other, and therefore you have parallels. And based upon the choices that we make, we kind of create those little parallels, anyways, because there's a one thing that's always common in most of religion is the duality. That's where yin and yang comes from. There's a little bit of darkness in the light, a little bit of light in the darkness. But I think that they're in the same way that this is we'll call it the masculine universe. There's also a feminine universe. In the same way that you made a decision to have a kid, you also made a decision to not have a kid, and both play out at the same time. They kind of spider out, kind of like when the spiders hatch from Charlotte's Web, and they all spin out and go into the wind. I think it's kind of like that.
Okay, I mean, I kind of got a belief that I mean, I guess it can kind of fit into that, but I mean, my general belief is that everything we do now, we will do again. Um, it basically is just one big circle. It just keeps going around and around and around and around and around again. I mean, it might modify itself a little bit. It might, you know, the look
But
of it
that's
might change.
evolution.
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, the basic outline, the basic pattern is there. Um,
Huh. Come on, hop up.
um, how's your dog doing?
Today's the first day in 4 days she's had energy. We've been here since Saturday night, and today she just, man, yeah, we got to play. She was peeling out. She got the zoomies. It was nice to see her have some energy today. She's very happy. So she's been getting lots of sleep, and she's been getting lots of food and stuff like that. So she's not as mopey as she's been for the, since we got here.
And you were talking about the you got a ticket. So how did that work out?
Oh,
Now's a good time to go ahead and uh,
okay.
break from topic and go ahead and drift into
Um,
something else and go back into that. Just remember where we are.
Okay, so for your audience, I am a nomad. I travel, coast to coast, border to border. I figure out how to get all different places. I rubber tramped a lot. I do trails. Every once in a while I'll hop a rail. I've thumbed it. I'm a nomad. I figure out ways to get from point A to point B, and with the road walks that we were having because we walked now from Kansas City all the way to Terre Haute, Indiana, which is about 500 miles, doing mostly a road walk. It messed with my dog's feet, especially when we went from like -5 and tornado warnings and waking up under snow to 3 days later, it's 90 degrees. And, getting into St. Louis, it burnt her out. And she's really never recovered. So I decided to stop here, panhandle for bus money, and the community came through, and I got enough. We bought our bus ticket today. We will be in Philadelphia in about a week, and that will save Sam about 700 miles of road walk. There's the East Coast Greenway Trail that we can get on, or we can get to the Appalachia Trail from there, and then that way Sam can have some roam around time and you know just
Yeah,
be a dog again.
I
Because
think
this road walk's killing her.
I think you need to get on the Appalachian Trail and kind of like chill, man. You do.
Yeah, but I gotta get to we stop in Harrisburg. I could get off the bus in Harrisburg instead of going all the way into Philadelphia and sit on the AT. But isn't that the 100-mile wilderness?
Not yet. I mean,
Where is the 100-mile wilderness? I've only heard stories of it. I was told it was in Pennsylvania.
no, it's after you get past Pennsylvania.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
see, AP. I mean, when I did it, I mean, I just like kept going through.
Yeah, well, I need to get my food stamps fixed because Missouri screwed them up.
Now,
I
when you
really
no the 100 mile wilderness, you get into um well, what's the fine? It's actually like 92 miles. Okay, it's from Monsoon to Baxter State Park. In Baxter State Park, there is this beautiful, wonderful bridge that you are happy to see, and that means that you have ended that hell hike. Um, you after
What's so
you.
bad about it? Is it the terrain or is it just no resupply?
I mean, there's no resupply. The terrain is fine, but man, you just feel so alone out there. I mean, there's nothing like that place I've ever been. I mean, and
I might
I've
like
been a
it.
bunch of places. I mean, I've been places that are pitch black and nobody's around, and no one ever would be around. But this, once you get out there, say you get like 40, 50 miles in, you're you're definitely alone. I mean, you look one way, wilderness. You look another way, wilderness. Hell, when I was in the desert, it didn't feel that bad. I mean, there's just nothing there.
What
Uh,
about signal?
no.
So I'm
Mm-mm.
gonna be so basically I gotta give, hey, I'll check in like, what does it take? About a week to cross it?
You can do it about 7 to 10 days.
Like, okay, is it? So I've done Shenandoah, and that was like 6 hours uphill, 2 hours downhill. What's the terrain like there?
Um, it's known for being wet, rocky, and rooted. If that helps.
Okay, so I'm gonna be tripping. I need to have my trekking poles out. Am I
Mm-hmm.
going? Am I gaining a lot of? Is it? Because like in Shenandoah, you'd get up to 6,500 feet, and then you drop down to like 4,200 feet, so you could camp. And then the next day you do the same fucking thing. And we went through the roller coaster.
Um, I was thinking that I remember it being highly elevated there. Um, of course, I don't remember my ears popping, but yeah, that's another thing. There are you'll have to cross some rivers, and
Like how
sometimes,
big are rivers?
well, normally they're not that big, but sometimes they do get big. And if
Like they swell?
and if they're big, then you need to wait. Um, a lot of people don't, and a lot of people are stupid, and the weather up there gets really bad. And the other thing, there are biting insects. Um, normally, when I say there are biting insects, I think about Louisiana. Like when Katrina happened, I went down there, and I was a first responder, and we were staying at a park outside of Slidell, because they wouldn't let us stay right in Louisiana. They wouldn't let us stay right in New Orleans because there was a no stay issue ordered, and was being an asshole. But we had to stay in Slidell, and we stayed in this little city park that was there,
Mhm.
and we were in this big maroon Chevrolet pickup diesel. um, I had set tents up outside. The guy that I come down with, he was sleeping in the truck. His son was sleeping in there, and every morning we would wake up, that truck would be white. And the reason it was white, I mean, its real color was maroon, but every morning it would be white, and it would be covered by friggin' mosquitoes. Um,
Oh God.
but up there on the 100 Mile Wilderness, you don't run into mosquitoes. You run into these hungry, bloodthirsty gnats, and
Ooh,
oh
like horseflies?
yes, it is horrid.
Oh. Oh God, yeah. You get some of those like as you get towards the end of Florida. Yeah, getting bit by those. Now when people talk about horseflies, I understand what they mean. Yeah, yeah. Oh God, yeah. All right, I will be prepared for that. I'll be prepared to, I'm gonna be trekking it. What about wildlife? Because I like to let Sam roam.
I think she will be fine. I mean, everybody that I've seen that took a dog up there was fine.
Yeah, but they probably leashed them too.
No, no, no. You're up there. You want her off. You want her running because it's. I mean, I'm serious. It's going to be lonely, and it's going to be you and her in the trail. That's it.
Dude, that sounds like so much fucking fun.
I
I'm
mean,
looking forward to it.
and the fucking bugs.
The bugs are gonna be what fucking makes me break.
Yeah.
I've gotten so many. You were talking about the itching. Yeah, I've gotten so many mosquito bites from being in Florida that I just sit there and I have phantom itches all over my arms, and I've got scarring at my elbows from all the bites I got.
It said that there might be an issue with the stream. Can everyone tell me if everything looks okay over there? I don't see anything.
I'll check on my end. Okay.
Yeah, it looks fine. Maybe.
Yeah, it's all good. Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, good. So,
You're doing vertical, huh? Or not vertical, horizontal.
horizontal. I mean, it's just the way.
Okay.
I mean, I can flip it and the other thing.
Well, it just depends. It depends. Are you looking for watch time, subscribers, or because you're if you get anything over a 2 minute watch time on that, because people are just scrolling. Nobody sits back and watches. When people watch horizontal, they're tuning in to watch.
I
You
know
know, but it takes a lot
when
longer to build an audience too, because
oh
most people are doing shorts.
well see that's the other thing with this other feature I can stream both this and a vertical, and with OBS I was able to stream a vertical as well. Um, so I'm gonna play around with this a little more, but you know, as long as this does the vertical and the this format and allows me to multi-stream without any issues that OBS was giving us, over the past few days. I think I'm cool with this. I mean, normally you don't see the webcam when we're doing this. You see like a background of video,
Hmm.
And like you can't see it, but I mean down here it shows me like stream health. It shows me the real time frame rate, the drop renders, and things like that. And
Well, yeah. Is that in studio or is that on the website?
well, on the program, this
You get that. You get that in studio in your studio too.
yeah. This is from the computer. Like I can kind of like compare them. That's what OBS didn't have, because with the Prism thing I can compare this with what studio is seeing, and I can kind of see what's going on. I mean, it worked a lot easier, from the last time. I just wish that I didn't have to pay him money.
That's the way it is. CapCut is screwing with me because you can usually that's what I use to edit all my videos if I edit them. I've just gotten to a point where I just don't edit anymore unless it's really important. But yeah, they're glitching it out so that you pay them $2 to be able to make your video, or $10 for the month so that you can finish your video and it actually doesn't come out all fucked up.
Oh yeah, well I mean I use like I got plenty of video editing tools and stuff like that. That's no big deal. I mean I use those for the older format of the channel, but now since I'm starting to do this stuff, now I gotta think about the whole streaming.
Well, I left my laptop behind. I only have my phone, and so I got to use what I got on my phone.
Well, yeah, I was going to ask you about that. I mean, like you like I don't know how I would feel about you know. Well, I mean, I know that it would be hard for you to carry that thing and lug it around and everything else.
It's an extra 3 or 4 pounds, yeah.
I mean, you technically could get like a new, like one of the cheaper Macs. They're light as hell. I mean, um,
I don't have that money. I mean, yeah, and I don't. Honestly, I can't really because I finally got I got screwed over by Verizon. So my old man's been paying for my phone since I went through my divorce like 15 years ago, and my phone plan is so old because it really never changed, that I was actually able to save my old man money by switching over and getting a 100 gig hotspot. Well, at that point in time, I had unlimited priority. They put me, in order to make it work, they put me in low priority bandwidth. So yeah, I'm kind of screwed now. So it's I having a laptop isn't going to do me much if I with my setup and the way I do things. I stop in a city. I can use a library. They give you 2 hours on the computer. If I'm there for a couple of days, I can get a lot of work done. That's when I do my computer work, because that's when I would really have time to be able to sit there and do it. Because you gotta figure out how to keep power on that thing too, and that's a pain.
oh, true. I mean, that's what I was thinking about power banks. Um, Keep talking. I got to run to the bathroom real quick, and I'll be right back. I promise.
Yeah, so just to kind of touch base for those of you that are curious, so I don't know how many of you guys are like planning your bug out bag or whatever. Um, but when you're thinking about, okay, I want to bring devices, you got to think about how you charge it. The power banks that I use are C to C. I use a C cord, and everything has to be uniform because I have one cord that I can use. So therefore, I don't need 10 different cords. I have a 100 watt power block that is a C port that comes from Anchor, and that charges a 40,000 milliamp uh, power bank in about 6 hours. I get about 20% an hour. Okay. Uh, 18 to 20% an hour. So it moves real quick. And off of 20%, I can charge my phone 2 or 3 times. Okay, because it takes about 7 or 8% to charge my phone if I just turn it off and stuff like that. But you got to think about how you're putting your power sources together. And so, like the laptop I had was a Chromebook, and part of the reason why I got it is because instead of having the traditional one like the laptops do, it had a C cord. So therefore, if I needed to charge the battery, I could use my power bank to do it. But the thing is Chromebooks suck and they're slow as shit, especially if you're trying to get them lightweight and inexpensive. I spent $50 for a refurbished Dell Chromebook. It was an old model, but still, it was slower than snot. You really gotta take that stuff into account and figure out like if you're traveling, if you're gonna be running from one place to another, always figure out how can I use the resources in certain areas to benefit me so I don't have to carry them, especially if it's not something I'm going to use, like let's say a laptop or a computer. I can use it when I come into a city. All cities have a library. Most libraries have at least 3 to 6 computers at a bare minimum, even in the small towns with 500 people in them. All right. So you've always got a computer any town that you walk through, and you'll run through one every day to 3 days, depending upon what kind of terrain that you're going through.
I'm back.
So, yeah.
I saw in chat somebody asked you what do you think about gold and silver to barter, and they also want to know how long have you been living that way.
Off and on for 25 years, pretty much my whole 20s, part of my 30s, and most of my 40s. I've been chronically homeless. I've been on the streets so many times I forgot. And what was the other question that for barter? Gold and silver.
What do you think about gold and silver? And um, an old friend of mine interjected. She says that you can barter with anything, even caps. Look at Fallout.
Here's the thing. Um, the things that are going to get you the best value is electronics, and specialty gear, because like people are looking for convenience, they're looking for pleasures and stuff like that. So if you're going to trade and you want something that's high value, but electronics like power blocks, they fail all the time. Power cords, they fail all the time. Battery banks, man, you know what? The kids that go and rob Walmart, they go and get the $20 power bank, take it down to the local shelter, sell it $5 a piece. Okay, I bought a power bank that way.
What's the weirdest stuff you've seen bartered?
Your friend's right. You could barter anything. I there's stuff, but I don't know if it's weird. Just
I
um,
mean, like she brought up the thing about caps, Fallout, and like in the Fallout universe, people use bottle caps. As the idea makes sense because you have something that resembles money, a currency, and
well,
it's
out
tin.
here, because the bottom 25% are the ones that you see in the homeless community. The high acuity, uh, the drugs, even weed is currency. Dude, you have no. I've sometimes, even if you need stuff. you can go and trade it within, because there are scavengers. Okay, so every time the police go and break up a camp, there's a scavenger that comes through about 3 or 4 days later to make sure everybody had time to come back, get their shit, and kind of let the heat die down. And then they'll go through and they'll scavenge it. Okay, my buddy Puckett, he did this shit. I got to go along with him, and we found all kinds of cool stuff. Whatever you find that's usable, that is, like, something to cook, something to eat. Clothes are always free, food is always free, but like electronics, anything that takes power, generators, anything else like that. You'd find like little tin boxes like that you could store stuff in, stuff like that. And then you take it and you either trade it to the dope dealer and he gets all the best stuff, and then you trade the rest of it within the community. And that's how he'd get his shit done. Being a scavenger, really, like, if when the world goes to shit, if you get good at scavenging, and you don't have any qualms with it, and you know how to do something like that, yeah, you could live a very, very lucrative lifestyle.
The problem is, I think that there'll be a lot of scavengers.
I know.
Yeah.
I don't think that there'll be scavengers. I think most people will. Okay, you got to realize, most of these kids that are 20 years old, 25, 30 years old, they're doing entry level jobs, just getting out of college. Now there's no jobs for them because it's being automated. Um, these kids they have a car, they have college debt. They might start staying with the parents for about 6 months to a year while they try and get something going, end up doing Uber or Lyft. Mom and dad get tired of it because they're like, dude, we paid for all this college. We want our peace. There's a reason why you turned 18 and you're supposed to get out of the house. And then they end up living in their car. And, and they still kind of live on the outside of what's going on, and they think that they're living rough. And it's like, if you watch some of the videos of these kids, it's like they're whining, and it's like, dude, seriously, you ain't even experienced shit yet. I mean, go sleep out on a street corner, and I could tell you, like, there's going to be multiple things that could happen to you that night. Some of it's by the police, some of it's by other homeless, some of it's by gang members. Just depends upon, if you're doing something stupid in the wrong area, you're not paying attention to what you're doing.
Man,
Okay, so
we live in a wild world. I'm serious. I mean, we do. I mean it.
yeah, I'm scared about going into Philadelphia right now because I know how bad Kensington is. I even tried to warn homeless entrepreneur, and he's like, "Yeah, I'll have a conversation with the gangs, and see if we can get safe passage through there, letting them know we're doing it for a cause."
Yeah, that
That's gonna
doesn't
be.
that wouldn't give me much pause. I would say. I mean,
No, the gang
yeah.
members are the enforcement out there.
No. I'm just
Th-
saying is
They are the police.
if you have to, if you actually literally have to have a conversation with a gang member or gang or leader of gangs or whatever in order to get patches through a place, then that means it's that bad that you know.
Gainesville was like
Yeah.
that. The head guy that was dropping the most bodies in these unmarked graves. The staff and everybody was trying to get me to meet with him because I was the brains, and he could have motivated all the rest of the homeless to get shit done, because he was the guy that basically ran the whole damn show. If you want to get anything done in the homeless community, you have to have some sort of agreement or understanding with the gangs. It's non-negotiable, no matter what you think. Even in Market Street, the guy I was working for was getting 6 bricks of some white stuff from South America,
Right.
and he was peddling it out, and he still, even as a Rothschild, still had to deal with the gangs and negotiate rights and stuff like that. But he was more at the top of the food chain, so they listened to him. But he still had to go through and go through the proper channels, because the gangs are the underground enforcement. The cops kind of come in there and they disrupt stuff, but the gangs are the ones that keep the junkies in order, because if they don't, then it's killing their business.
Okay. I mean, I mean, that makes sense, and I mean that seems to be the way things are going, and with the added boom of
Fentanyl.
fentanyl, people from I hate to say this, people from other countries, and bringing in that type of gang and other gangs and stuff like that. You have different ideas and different ways of doing things, and well, you're gonna have more gangs. Anyway, let's switch gears
Oh,
and go back to our Tesla thing. And the reason I brought that up was Google. How familiar are you with the Google's quantum computer?
I've heard of it. That's about it.
Okay, well they have made some um, progress. Uh, in addition to, like, they used to say that Bitcoin would be unbreakable. Like, you wouldn't be able to uh, crack the code and go through and solve everything, and it was one of the safest currencies. Well, they have determined that the quantum computer is more capable than they thought, and it's basically going to wreck Bitcoin. But that's just an interesting
Good.
that's just an interesting tidbit that I thought I'd throw in there. What I wanted to bring up was, and I can't remember the name of the chip, but it's the latest one,
Hmm.
and
Is this the one that has AI built into it?
it is, but they did an experiment, and the experiment was to study how that they were looking for interference, and but because a quantum chip has to run. I mean, it's super cold, and it has to run very quiet, and it's under vacuum. So anything that comes in there, it reads and records and everything else. And they sent a frequency. They sent a signal basically to the same frequency that Tesla believed in, and they got a response
They sent a signal where?
to what was it? The frequency, Tesla's frequency, Tesla's. It was. I wasn't going to actually talk about this, but since we got on the topic, I thought we would. Let's see. Maybe it was. Because I found this extremely interesting. Uh, yeah, it was the Willow chip, and it was operating at, was it 1.44 or something?
Is that gigahertz, terahertz?
Gigahertz, but it was the same frequency that Tesla
What,
was.
1.44 gigahertz? That ain't that. No, we got to be talking about something bigger than that, because that yeah, um, that's like Pentium 2.
No, it's 105 qubits.
Okay, there
Yeah,
we go.
qubits. Yeah, see, Google's quantum AI.
Santa Barbara, California.
All right, Google's quantum AI discovered what Tesla was trying to stop. Um, it says in October 2025, Google ran a code on its Willow quantum chip that finished 13,000 times faster than the best computer on Earth. They called it quantum echoes. The signal went into the system, it reversed, it listened to what come back, revealing a hidden structure inside molecules that no traditional instrument can recover. Um, but by principle, sending the signal through the system and listening to what resonance back is what Tesla did in 1899. When he built the tower, the one that J.P. Morgan tried to destroy.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there was this. It come back and the the person that is over Google basically said that the only way they can explain it is that there has to be another world out there. They're receiving signals back from something in that quantum realm.
Um, Quantum realm.
Yeah, we're talking quantum realm here.
Okay, I had a boss that was into quantum mechanics and all that other stuff. Because what was it? In the mid '90s is when it became like an emerging science, and so he was reading every single book and all kinds of stuff about it. But I never really understood it.
But I mean, that plays back into what CERN was trying to do. And when the quantum realm is basically the easiest way to explain this is when you start looking at an atom, a molecule, an atom, or whatever, and you start looking inside that, and then you start looking inside, those structures, and then those structures, and then those structures. Um, uh, I think a real good example of the way they explain it is there's actually a Marvel movie called Ant-Man.
Mm-hmm.
And they really explain it. I think one of the last ones was called Quantum World, Quantum Realm, or whatever.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
watched that one. I love that movie.
Well, that is basically what we're talking about here. There's some kind of, you know, they believe, and I mean, basically, Google proved it. I mean, there's no way not to disprove what Google proved, and this is what Tesla was trying to say, that there is something out there that we can't see. What I mean, that's the reason why when you talk about the four-dimensional reality, it's hard to explain. We can kind of describe it, but on a quantum level, it's the same but different. I mean, like everything exists, but it's different. There's something there. It's just like there's something living. Like dust on your cabinet. But and this gave people hope to like what happens to us after like maybe we die or whatever. I mean they have been throwing all kinds of stuff at this, and there's a whole subset of the net, and they're actually talking about giving people Nobels for this thing.
Is it kind of like a God particle or something?
Past it. I mean, the God particle is, what they tried to say they discovered, basically the prelude to like antimatter.
Mm.
I mean, we're talking, we're talking extreme physics here. I mean, CERN is getting ready to shut down and actually add another loop, and they don't know what they're getting ready to do. I mean, it's wild. I mean, the experiments they run at CERN, the Alice experiments, and everything else it's just wild. And I mean, that's a whole nother video to go into and to break down.
Okay.
And I mean, I had to get my notes, and I can base that on the notes from when I did the other stories and what, but. Yeah, there's some wild stuff there, and there's a lot of new stuff. That being said, switching gears, I saw the video that you sent me, like right before stream, and it's about the guy that burned down the warehouse.
No, not no. Oh, yeah, warehouse. Yes.
Yeah, it was the warehouse in Washington, right?
I don't remember where it was, but yeah, he did burn down the warehouse, and it's like, yeah, I can't believe that, but yeah.
And that's basically because He didn't feel like he was paid enough.
Well, here's the reality of the situation. You need $60,000 a year to be able to live in any city today. Okay, that's just to get by, because when you're spending, and he marks it out, you're spending 2/3 of your income on rent. Um, right when the whole rent crisis started, one of my followers, he was in New Hampshire. His rent went from 1,200 to 2,700 overnight. Okay, rent just skyrocketed and continued to skyrocket. And there, there's places like Oregon where it's gone up by 40%. It's normally like about 10% is what you see as like as high. So we've got rent going up, and now you've got such a high concentration of wealth, and these billionaires are in their echo chambers. They don't know what's going on around them, and they're in just as much a fantasy land as our politicians are. And so yeah, you're gonna have a class warfare. I've been talking about for years. Are you familiar with the medieval peasant rebellions?
Yeah. I mean,
Braveheart's a perfect example.
I guess we could say that we were talking about the whole taxes thing. I guess we could say that that's kind of like part of it.
No, that's a political protest for because they don't want to be funding the war in Iran.
Well,
They
I
did the
think
same thing in Iraq.
well, I mean, now, people are saying that, but believe it or not, I'm actually part of a group. I am part of a lot of groups on Facebook. I'll admit that. Anybody that knows me knows that. I mean, I work around thousands of Reddit groups, and I do that because I like to post stories and stuff in there, and the same way with Facebook groups. Um, sometimes you see cool stuff, and sometimes you can meet cool people. And well, anyway, one of the groups in there and on YouTube, I mean on Facebook, is basically these individuals that don't want to pay taxes, and this has been going on long before I ran. These are people that were plotting and planning to do this anyway. I mean, and they're like, should I not pay taxes this year? And then some guy will say, yeah, I'm not going to pay taxes, and then he does that, and the next thing you know, the last one I talked to was a lottery winner, okay, and I mean, like, if you win, the lottery, you owe a lot of money to the federal government.
Hmm.
I mean, we're talking millions of dollars here.
Yeah, well, that's what happens when you win. But look at what you get to keep.
Well, I mean,
30 million out of 100 million that you get to keep is fucking 30 million you didn't have.
yeah, but you don't have any of that if you don't pay the government.
Well, yeah,
I mean,
you always
they
pay
will
the
eventually come after you.
teachers.
But these individuals, and this one specifically one, did not pay the federal government, and he didn't pay the state, and I believe they come and arrested him.
Uh huh.
And that's kind of what I think is going to happen to these people that don't want to pay their taxes.
Do you? I was part of the free man movement in starting in 2008, 2009, right around the time my son was born. Okay. And I actually practiced it. You've heard me tell the stories about how I took two houses using adverse possession. That was free man technology, we'll call it. Okay. I actually got in, drank the Kool-Aid, understood everything that was going on. And it starts with this guy, Lee Brobes. His most famous article is USA, the Republic, a house that no one lives in. But nobody goes and reads the rest of his articles, because that's the final article. So if you hadn't been reading what he'd been putting out for the previous 2 years, you wouldn't understand. All that sounds like is a bunch of gibberish, and it's very insightful and da 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 da. Because he's going on a rant because he's tired of dealing with stupid people that are too blind. It's the blind leading around the blind. And so that's kind of what that article was. I, being a blogger at the time, decided to go get other samples of his writing and started reading it. He tells his story in the sidebar. And in the 1970s, because this was circa 89-90 was when he wrote Eye of the Eagle, um, which you can barely find it online anymore. It's all been scrubbed. And some of it's even been changed because I remember what it originally was. And um, uh, uh, the thing is he, like so many other tax protesters, were protesting the 16th Amendment. But it was proven that the 16th Amendment was a 1 year excise tax, and that was it. And they had to pass an amendment because of the way in which it was done. It was still a 1 year excise tax. What had actually happened is it's a series of events that starts with FDR and his New Deal. Okay, to not get too far into the weeds unless you want me to. Do you want me to or not?
I don't mind. Go ahead. I mean, I don't know if
Okay,
he's, you know.
so um, the whole Freeman thing is that there are two citizenships. Okay, prior to the Civil War, there was no such thing as a U.S. citizen. A U.S. citizen didn't exist. You were either an American or a citizen of whatever great state you're from. Okay, I'm a, wherever you were born or wherever you're native at is your state. So, I hail from the great state of Colorado. All right, so uh, the Secretary of State would actually handle all the immigration. Immigration was done by the states, not by the federal government. Okay, but the thing is post Civil War, because some of the southern states did not want to recognize the freed black slaves as citizens. Because they applied to the state. The state said, no, you're not a citizen. We're not going to give you citizenship because they had that right. They would they the founders who wrote the Constitution believed that no man should remain or shall remain stateless, which means you have to have a political governing society that you're part of. So what the federal government did is they passed the 14th Amendment. And the 14th Amendment didn't just create the US citizen, but this national debt thing that we're talking about right now.
Oh yeah.
When Trump tried to decline the debt ceiling, all of the Democrats wrote him, telling him he was in violation of the 14th Amendment because you shall not question the debt, and it is on the full faith and credit of the American people. So basically, they said you just gave us a blank check by being a U.S. citizen, and we are now collateralizing you. You are now an asset.
Well,
Okay,
yeah. I mean,
so
that's the way it is in every country. I
well,
mean,
no,
you
no,
know.
but this is specific because this is kind of the post Civil War stuff that happened. This is the biggest change that ever happened in our country, and is set the stage for what we're going through right now. If you want to know what the source is, where it started, this is where it starts in the 1830s with Andrew Jackson, but it really takes off and actually becomes part of public policy post Civil War.
So this is,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. So what you're saying? This is basically when they gave us the our number and attached a dollar amount to our head.
No, see, you as a white American, or if you were a black freeman who had natural citizenship through whatever, you would, because back then, see, in 1822, the Supreme Court, because in order to be able to be considered citizen, you had to have property. Well, if you had gold and silver, it was considered considered movable property, which therefore expanded the rights of citizenship for people to become citizens of the states because it guaranteed you certain rights and protections and so on and so forth. Okay, so it was more of what had happened is the governor of North Carolina, as he was exiting, gave his farewell address or his final writings, basically called Abraham Lincoln out for stealing the slaves of the South so that the federal government could have them for themselves. Okay, it's you. If you could go find it, if it's still online, it's the farewell address because they were promised that if they were to come in, that they wouldn't have to, give up anything, that just come back in and we'll have peace. And then as soon as Lincoln was assassinated, and the North kind of had their control, they chose to force the South, for petty grievance, to adopt the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment, which under ancient law, that's not enforceable because it was done under duress. It was done under threat of sword and death, and therefore nothing is binding. There's actually a maxim in law that explicitly states this. Okay, so this is judicial precedence, and so there's an argument with that. But the thing is in the 1930s, when the Great Depression, because only black people, and they were considered a second class citizen because they didn't have the rights of the state citizens. They only had the rights of the federal government, which means you were a federal citizen. Okay, so there was two distinct citizenships, but the whites still had their state citizenship. But during the Great Depression, when he offered the New Deal, he said, we got grandma that's, no survivors outlives. We need to make sure she's taken care of. We need to make sure you're fed. We need to do this. And he switched us because we were going through a bankruptcy from a corporatocracy into a socialist country. If you go look in the annals of Congress, look up any reorganization act. The first one that you'll see that's really important is, I think it's the Reorganization Act of Washington, D.C. of 1872, when we become a corporatocracy, where we get the robber baron, so on and so forth. But
Okay.
yeah, it's very, if you want to understand what happened to America, you have to follow the law, not the politics. Okay, so by the people declaring that they were U.S. citizens in order and getting a serial number and getting a birth certificate and all this other stuff, they were waiving their rights as state citizens, which were guaranteed protections under the Bill of Rights, to become federal citizens in order to join an insurance program. Okay, because that's essentially what all of our social services are. It's an insurance program. Your taxes pay a premium, and that premium is how you get your benefits. Okay, that's kind of the idea behind it, at least the way that the American people were sold. Even the game Monopoly was brought into play to teach people how to deal with new money, but we were still stuck on the old system. There was not enough gold and silver in circulation to be able to facilitate the amount of commerce that we can facilitate, and so therefore we had to go to a fiat currency. But anyways, without getting on that tangent, okay, so we became U.S. citizens, and we became U.S. citizens, and therefore waived our rights under the Bill of Rights and became federal citizens. The Supreme Court continuously rules that the Bill of Rights was designed to protect the citizens of the states, which means that it was not there to protect the U.S. citizens, which are not citizens of the state. Because if you look, they reverse jurisdiction, which is you are a citizen of the United States and then the state wherein you reside, versus you are a citizen of the state wherein you reside, and your second class citizenship is that of an American through the Union. Okay, and so you indirectly, through wordplay and stuff like that, waived your rights. Now, through all this and so on and so forth, in the in oh God, what was it? In the Interstate Commerce Act of 1887 was amended in 1940 to include U.S. citizens as carriers of commerce. Because you were nothing but property, you were therefore considered commercial property, so therefore they could tax you. And then 10 years later, they set up the IRS. Now, here's the loophole that nobody tells you, and this is what I learned from reading Lee Brose. Okay, because he went into prison under that, and this is what he found because he had somebody that was kind of showing him where he fucked up. And essentially, when you turn 18, you have the right to never pay taxes. But the first time you file taxes, it's like heroin. You have to do it every year. See, the thing is they get you, if you want to get Pell Grants, if you want to get this, if you want to get that, so that they can draw you into the system. Because if you're not paying taxes, that means you're not necessarily acting as a U.S. citizen. You are acting as a citizen of your state. You also, at the age of majority, at the age of 18, can therefore renounce your U.S. citizenship and take citizenship in the state in which you became native. Okay, but you got to go through the Secretary of State and stuff like that. You got to really know what you're doing. Do your research. But like for people that have children and they're like, I want them to have the rights that they're entitled to under the Bill of Rights. These are the things that you need to really consider.
Well,
Okay, so if you
know
pay taxes once, you
they're
owe
passing
taxes
that
for
new
life.
law. Well, I mean, not
Huh?
passing a new. Well, actually, it's not. It's not. Well, I guess it is a law. Anyway, they're doing
No,
this.
it's not.
No, 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 no. I'm not talking about that. I'm sure that this kind of like closes some of those loopholes because now, um, they're as soon as you have a child in the United States, they're setting up a bank account of $1,500. It comes
Yes,
from the
the
government, and you get the money straight from them, and it uh, can act as a um, safety blanket for like if you need some kind of medical thing or your kid can use it at for
yeah, I
college
know
or
it's
whatever,
the freedom account, right?
Yeah, yeah, but I mean, that kind of locks you into the system. I don't think here
Not
in
necessarily.
well, I mean,
Well, hold on. There's
I don't think that we're actually going to have stuff like Pell Grants and college loans and stuff like that in the future because it just doesn't make any sense. I mean, a lot of that stuff is run and of course it's being operated by Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, but it's being you know basically supported by the federal government, and the federal government is doing everything in their power to cut everything. And I mean, and for I know there's some people here in chat in this group that don't live in the United States. Like the friend of mine here, she lives up in Canada, and there's a bunch of other people that live over in the UK. But they have similar issues when it comes to these kind of things, and you're going to find parallels with um, any system that is not China or Russia. Um, anything that's based in capitalism, and like Tuck was saying here, if you want to look at the beginning, this is when it started. These are the basic ideas. Everyone kind of like sort of changed and made their own little things, but really, I don't know. I think we're screwed. To be
well,
honest with
here.
you. Yeah.
Would you like to know the loophole? And there's actually people that have done that have circumvented the loophole, but you got to know what's the actual problem.
I'm
So,
scared of loopholes when it comes to the federal government, dude. I am.
okay, let me explain to you like this: the whole Trump account stuff like that, or whatever they're calling it, freedom account. Um, it doesn't get done until you bring the child into the system. See, there's some stuff that's been happening over probably the last 15 years or so. They started doing it right after my son was born. Okay, and he's going to be 18 next year. Um, and uh, uh, essentially you would get the certificate of live birth. Okay, they would hand that to you as a parent, and you would take that down to the Bureau of Vital Statistics, and you would trade that in for a birth certificate. Okay,
Right.
they now what they're doing is the hospitals, because they get paid for every birth or certificate of live birth that gets sent off, they are, without your consent, registering your child under the guise of just doing it for convenience so that they could continue to line their pockets. But what they're doing is they're forcing your child into slavery. All right, whether you want to call it slavery or not, it's really what it is. It's just slavery where they give you a wage instead of just feed you. Okay. And so what it used to be is if you just kept the certificate of live birth, that you could still use that as documentation when you went to put your kid in school, but they may say that you have to pay because at that point in time your child is still a citizen of the state. Okay, so this goes to title. Everybody always hears possession is 9/10 of the law, but nobody knows what the other tenth is. The 10% of the law, which is title, is the most important part, because he who has title has control. I can let you possess that car, but if I have the title of that car, I can tell you what to do with it and I can take it back from you. Okay, so possession may be 9/10, but it still doesn't mean shit because whoever has title. So what you're doing is you're relinquishing title of your child to the federal government. Now, there is a law out there that says that the wife, or that the mother, is required to be an informant, i.e., a snitch, um, to inform on herself that she had a child. Okay, and she can be charged with, I believe, a felony for not doing it.
Really?
Yes,
Now, is that federal or is that state by state?
that's federal.
That is crazy. That is wild.
Dude, this is how you got locked into the system. So if I would have known this before my son was born, I would have never gotten him a birth certificate. Now my wife would have she would have gone nuts and everything else like that. The shit I was writing about, she was afraid we were gonna get men in black kicking in our door. And I was like, okay, fine, I'll stop. But and this is just as I'm starting to learn all this stuff and kind of figure out what the fuck's going on. And I'm telling you, when you really learn, and instead of getting angry, you're like, huh, okay, now I get it. And you start realizing that there are certain rules to the game, and if you understand it. So the other thing that the 14th Amendment gives you is due process. Do you know what due process is?
I mean, basically, have the ability to um, the right under law to be tried by jury and everything else.
No, that's not due process. Due process is this, and I'm just going to use a funny analogy, okay? All of a sudden I get this wild hair up my ass and I send you a certified letter. And in that certified letter, I say that I am the most handsome man in the world and you owe me $10,000. And if you don't within 7 days, I'm going to foreclose on you. Okay. You look at it, go, it's a joke, throw it in the trash. Well, 7 days later, I didn't get a response. I give you a second. I give you or excuse me, 10 days later, I don't get a response. I give you a second, an opportunity to cure, because there is biblical stuff that's going on here. At first, you have a problem, go to your brother.
Yeah.
If you can't get it done, take a witness. If you still can't get it done, take it to the church. But the church is, and you are actually participating in a religious ceremony when you go into a courtroom. You're actually leaving the jurisdiction of the United States and going into a foreign jurisdiction when you step into a courthouse, if you didn't know. Anyways, so the second time I say, hey, it's been 10 days. I've given you two opportunities now. You've thrown both, I didn't know that you threw both of them away, but I have not heard a response. So therefore your silence is acceptance, and I will be seeking judgment. Now that is due process, because I sent you notice, because you're required to notify me. You're required to give me an opportunity to cure in case I didn't get it the first time.
Opportunity
And
to
then
be
at
heard.
that point in
Yeah.
time, that is a judgment. It doesn't matter. It could be hearsay. I could say that you could accuse anybody of anything as long as you follow this process. That is due process. It does not require that it's right. It does not require that it's lawful. It does not require anything else like that. Once you get to the courtroom, then all that stuff starts to come into play. But it doesn't even come into play anymore. They don't go off of conduct anymore. They don't go off of the cops don't even take a moment to assess the situation and create peace, which is what they were originally designed to do. Because post Civil War, see, this is something else that most people don't know, is post Civil War, the federal, so Congress declared war on the South. They didn't want to, they did it reluctantly. They made killing a Union soldier penalty punishable by death. Okay, so they had to, in order to be able to get the troops together to form the Union Army. Okay, but the thing is, Robert E. Lee signed a surrender, but Congress is still required to vote to move us back into peace. They did not. With the assassination of Abraham Lincoln, Congress was actually able to take control over the White House. Donald Trump is the first president in over 100 years that has taken back control of the White House from Congress. He's actually, even though it's really chaotic, he is creating a separation of government that was supposed to be there, but hasn't been there since the Civil War. So our peace officers became police officers. This is why they're being militarized, because we went from martial law to martial rule. That means hostilities have stopped, but they're still waiting for them to kick off again. It's just a matter of time. It's kind of like a temporary peace. Okay, because we're still in the state of war, and we've been in the state of war against our own people since 1861.
Okay. I mean, I've heard that before. I mean, I don't know if other people's heard that, but I mean, yeah. I mean, I've heard similar, explanations of that. And yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't know why I got due process confused. I looked it up while you were talking, and um, yeah, notice, opportunity to be heard, and a neutral decision maker. And this is the same stuff. See, there was here in Virginia, they got a due process law, but it comes with like property. If you pass away, and you don't have any family, or if you do have family, and you make a claim, like let's say so and so passes away, and I say they owed me $100,000. Um, you make a claim. You just go over to the courthouse. You make a claim. I mean, there's a lot of people who don't even know these people, and they do this stuff. Um, actually, there's a remind me to tell me if I don't remind me to tell you about the guy that employed this and owns pretty much a whole city. Anyway,
I'm aware of this process. I know how it's done because it was talked about a lot within the Freeman community, because this is how they were saving people from getting foreclosed all across the United States.
why this? I mean it's seriously abused, and it can be abused by the same person over and over again. And I mean, and I'm sure it's in other states
What
as
was the
well.
guy's name?
Huh? I don't know if I should. I don't know if I should out him on. I mean, this was like an old redneck that knew the law, and I mean
Oh, okay.
he just lived in the city, and I mean we talking about small towns here, and every time somebody older would pass away, um, he would make a claim, and he would get their property, he would get their house, he would get their stuff, their cars, everything else, and he just kept on doing that over and over and over again. And
Nobody required a burden of proof.
you don't have to. There's no requirement in Virginia for burden of proof. You can do it. You can come in and you can say, well, so and so, 100 years ago I loaned so and so $100,000, and he owes, this is it was due payable in debt.
You know, this is you guys have you're in Virginia. You guys have, what is it, like Constitution Day or something like that, where you guys go to the state capitol. Why aren't you lobbying Congress to actually make a change to this to require a burden of proof?
Because I mean, well, I mean, me personally, I don't know. I mean, it's really hard to get anybody to do anything around here.
Well, you don't have to be. It doesn't. You don't need a group just sitting back having a conversation. Once you explain fraud, that right there is a politician's dream. He's gonna put his name on it and all kinds of stuff. Look at what we save fraud, families from being robbed by scam artists. Fucking, they'll get voted in like 2 seconds.
Yeah,
You just got to know how to pitch them.
the other thing is Virginia's a Commonwealth state.
Yeah, so everything's owned by everybody. It's communist almost.
No, that ain't how that works. Commonwealth state, basically bases like the old way, like we follow, or the government follows more like British rule tradition. Um, like the laws here are made by the government. I mean, it's not made by the whole of the people. You go to states, and the people have the ability to affect the laws and stuff like that. We don't here.
Well, that's a violation of the Constitution because all states are required to be a republic.
No, no, no. Yeah. I mean, we're technically a republic, but I mean, but
How
Commonwealth
can
states
you
can
be?
get by with it. I mean, they have for Virginia was one of the first things, and like our the actual Constitution is Bill of Rights and Constitution is based on work that was done by our forefathers. Everything's fucked up. But that being said, let's get off of old dusty politics. We can always pick a day and dive into all of that mess.
That was more history than
Yeah,
anything.
I mean, I'm thinking that isn't there some kind of special day coming up, um, like
Fourth of July.
no, well, I mean, there's like a special American History Day that's coming up. It would be a good day,
Juneteenth.
huh?
Juneteenth.
Mm,
Or May Day. Well, no, we don't celebrate May Day anymore.
no, we don't.
Yeah, we should.
We can do it on here. Anyway, I don't know. But anyway, okay, let's switch gears. Okay, the sheep.
Okay.
Okay, let me. This happened in a German supermarket. There was 50 sheep that invaded the supermarket, knocked over shelves, leaving and leaving evidence. They have no idea why they decided to do this. There's video, and this isn't the only time they've done it. Sheep is not an animal that normally does stuff like that.
Where'd they come from?
They just like all gather. I mean, it's like a whole bunch of sheep in this German town decided to get together. From
They're
other
not wild sheep, are they?
No, I mean they're like different farms, and they like all gathered together, and they decided to go raid a supermarket. It's like one of the wildest things I've ever seen when it comes to animals.
Decided to raid a
Yeah.
supermarket.
I mean they just went in there and like destroyed everything. I mean sheep. I mean like goats will eat tin cans and things like that.
Oh,
But sheep don't do that.
wow.
I mean we're just talking fuzzy, fluffy animals that
Oh, come on. Bambi will kick your ass.
I don't know. We got plenty of Bambi around here.
No, you know what? Nature's turning against us. We have invaded it to where they've said, nature has said, fuck you, we're coming back. And now you got squirrels throwing nuts at you.
Well, I mean that happened in not long ago. I'm not done with the whole animal thing. I mean the I think what has happened is that we have been in we have created this part of society so long that animals either one are trying to communicate with us and the only way they can know that they know how, or two they have or they are beginning to adapt to us. You know, like how dogs adapt to their owners, cats adopt to their owners, but now you have wild animals doing the same thing.
Well, we've domesticated them all.
Well, I mean that goes with the whole raccoon thing. See, all across America and in Canada, if I'm not mistaken, one specifically I'm going to refer to is that we have had this raccoon that has broken into an ABC store at night, got drunk, and was found every morning passed out.
I'm proud of that thing.
I mean, it seems like it's a, um, a constant thing, and people have started to domesticate raccoons. In the list of animals that will be, domesticated, kept, or whatever, it's going to be a raccoon. You can already see these changes in them. I mean, their noses have gotten shorter, they've gotten cuter. Um, the raccoons are old, are not the raccoons of new now. And this in itself is starting to worry scientists. Because we're seeing these mental and physical changes in animals that are around us. We're starting to see squirrels that have turned cannibal. We're starting to see there's a group of chimpanzees in Uganda that has literally entered into a civil war against other chimpanzees for the past 10 years. Um, yeah, things are getting a little weird when it comes to animals.
Well, are you familiar how the first climate change bills were passed, which was Global 2000?
Do what now?
So Global 2000 was the first climate change bill. Then we got Agenda 20 whatever and this and whatever version that they just keep kicking the can down the road, but it's the same shit. It started as Global 2000. So are you familiar with the history on how all this got started?
I'm not, well, other than, was it the vice president that started
No, that's too far in the future.
too far in the future? No, no,
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I know now though they're not talking about it. Like the last, what is it? Is it the UN meeting or whatever? Like every UN meeting I watched every year, like the big one when they started announcing the meeting and everything else, they would talk about climate change. Well, this is the only year they didn't talk about climate change. They talked about AI.
Yeah, because they realize that AI is going to undermine their climate change, and so now even Bill Gates has come out and said, "Well, we're just going to have to deal with it." But let me give you a little bit of the history so you can understand. It's to kind of and give my opinion on what you were talking about with all these animals doing all this weird stuff. So the way that you, if you wanted to affect government policy, what you would do is do a foundation would fund a private research, and then they would take it to the president and see if he would commission a government study, and then once the government study was done, then it would go off to Congress, and Congress would start doing this. And so this is how, like, all these old money, like the Ford Foundation and the Rockefellers and all this is how they're able to kind of influence long-term policy. So in the 1930s, they were looking at the introduction of oil and seeing that there was a population boom, and they started looking at the report was originally designed to look at the usage of resources for the next 100 years. And to see how America could be front and center. It was more of an economics type of thing. But the overall conclusion was is that because the population was getting so far out of control, because whenever your infant mortality rate plummets, you're going to have a population boom. Same thing in China. Same thing when you got a third world country that moves into a first world country or a developing country. They have a huge population boom. As the mortality rate goes down, then they start having smaller families because it's less of a risk, and half their children are aren't gonna die or pass away or whatever. Okay, so they commissioned this study, and then they sent it to they sent it off to Truman, but he was going out of office, and Eisenhower came in. He's like, "Screw the New Deal stuff." Then it was brought up during Kennedy. It wasn't officially passed by Congress and ratified until 1976. But the problem is they're too busy trying to tell us that it's cow farts, it's what we're eating, it's this, it's that. Because if they were to come out and tell you that the real reason why we're doing this is because we're breeding like rabbits, and as our infant mortality rate goes down, we need to go down as well, or we need to reduce and manage our population because it shouldn't get this big. Otherwise, we're going to destroy the whole planet. All of the resources are going to be contaminated, used to the brink that the planet may not be able to recover, and we may be able to do irreversible damage. Okay, this is kind of why I've always been a fan of the Georgia Guidestones. But this was the main premise of everything that's going on. So nature now, because we've encroached on it and we've done so much damage, because uh, uh, at least here in the Western world, you tell a Christian that they have to be responsible in their procreation to make sure that we manage the population, and they'll say, "Well, my God says go forth and be fruitful and multiply, so I can have 10 children if I want to." But what they're doing is actually being destructive. In the beginning, when we needed to ensure the survival of the species, yes. Plus, we had a high infant mortality rate. If you had 2 children, 3 of them might survive. So, with all this happening, I think that nature and the animals themselves are starting to fight back, and they're starting to get affected because we've done so much irreversible damage that they themselves, nature cannot repair it. So therefore, it is taking the fight to us.
Well, I mean, I've always thought that humans, at least a version of humans, are a, a cancer. We were going to hurt the earth, and the earth would eventually fight back. And
Yeah.
sorry,
It's,
my son got sick in there, but but yeah, that's. I mean, so are you pro climate change or not a climate change believer? Climate. Uh,
I, I look at current climate change as a religion of Greta Thunberg.
no, 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 no,
Um,
no, no. I'm saying, do you believe that it is
that man is overly contributing to it. Yes, there's a natural cycle. Yes, but when you have man interfering in the way in which we're doing because we're being reckless, yes, we are the catastrophes that we're seeing are because of our ignorance. I will go that far, but I don't want to lump myself in with climate change people because it comes with a certain cognition, and I'm not part of that religion.
I mean, I believe that everything that would happen to our climate would happen anyway. And the reason I say that is because volcanoes, um, fires, wars, everything will produce far more, carbon and stuff than we could ever produce on this planet.
Not Here's the thing. The average human being produces, and I actually did an interview, a guy did a documentary on this. The average human being produces 40 tons of carbon in their lifetime. Multiply that by 10 billion. You couldn't get rid there's not enough fires, there's not enough
Well, I mean
human beings are
that's
the 60 to 70% contributor to the carbon footprint. It has nothing to do with cow farts. It has to do with when you breathe in
no.
oxygen, you put out
I'm just
carbon.
talking about the way it is. I mean, the way we're here. The Earth is doing its thing. Everything is going to happen for whatever reason. It's going to happen. Um,
But those things happen over like tens of thousands of years, not over decades and centuries.
Yeah, but I mean, not now. But see, that's not that's. I don't feel that's a fair assessment because, you know, well, we're talking. What was it? Uh, the last ice age. What was it called?
Well, we were in a mini ice age during, was it medieval times?
Well, no. I mean, all of the reason we had an ice age is because there was all of the volcanoes and stuff that went off, and all of the carbon got trapped in the atmosphere, and then everything got cold and got trapped in the ice. And that's one of the claims that all these climate people are having. They're saying, okay, well now everything's starting to melt, so all this carbon that was trapped in the ice is going to be released back into the atmosphere, and everything that happened. I mean, it's a cycle. The Earth cleans itself. All the carbon that's in the atmosphere will be done the same way. Now it may take us out in the process, but this is something that happens. Um, and we may be hurrying it along a little bit, but I mean, I still think it would have happened.
No, the volcano causes cooling because it blocks the sun. It's not because the carbon. It's not
No.
heating or cooling
I
because of
mean,
the carbon.
yes, but
It's blocking the sun.
I mean, but I'm specifically talking about the actual carbon dioxide that is produced from the burning of sulfur and ore and stuff that comes from a volcano.
But
I'm not talking
look at
about
the
the.
population at that time too. What was the population of Earth? It was maybe a couple 100 million people. A couple 100 million people with 40 tons of carbon and a volcano going off doesn't really do something. 10 billion people with a volcano going off is a much different math problem.
Oh yeah, yeah, I agree. But I
So
mean, but
that's
I
where
mean,
the concern is. It's not that.
once that cooling effect starts to happen, and it apparently is supposed to be. I mean, there's no way.
Um,
I mean, what I'm trying to say is there's no way we can change it. There's no way we can effectively change something that once the dominoes have started to fall, and I believe they've already started to fall. I don't think that we have the ability to change it because they're going to happen anyway. The all of this money that is spent into supposed climate change and anti-climate change and everything else, it's just a waste of money that's lining politicians' pockets,
mhm.
and
The-
it's like one big scam because this money could be used for people to live better lives, um, you know, here in the now, not in the next 300 or 400 years.
You know what though? Like we've lost touch with nature. I've talked to old farmers that talk about crop rotation was a normal thing, and now nobody does it. And that's why we depleted our soil was because we let the government tell us what we needed to grow instead of growing and keeping a crop rotation, and that just kept the food supply at a constant.
Oh yeah,
And
that is another huge conversation and another day worth of video. I got into a conversation with somebody about that, somebody important actually, and when I was um, my second job after college was well, I mean, of course, I was a writer and stuff like that, but I had to I had to take a job, and I took a job for at that time it was called soil and water conservation. This is when the government was actively uh, pumping money into the agriculture departments across America. Um, Now it's basically nothing. I mean, you might see a soil and water conservation, but there's nobody hardly either there. They don't do anything. We were the guys that would go out and basically tell farmers that you need to plant soybean and you need to construct and build waterways and stuff like that. And the government had their ways of making them do it by saying, okay, well, we'll buy your crops or we'll give you incentives and money and stuff like that in order to do these things so you can keep your crops going. Well, the government doesn't have a real good track record for doing those things. Um, I'm sure you know of the plant. Was it starts with a K? It grows wild like crazy. Kazuzu, whatever it's called. Um,
okay.
it's all over the South. It's the green plant that covers everything. Um, you would know if you saw it. Well, anyway, the government was like, they brought in information. They were like, okay, well, we want you guys to plant this stuff. You can farm it. You can use it. And they were paying them to plant this stuff. They were giving it freely. Well, this plant decimated the crops. This plant, you know, put in these thick, heavy roots. Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna agree with you. Don't
Yeah.
follow.
So
Yeah, the government. Fuck no.
by not being connected to nature, by overpopulating, by being destructive, greedy, and you you'll contaminate water because the profits you make will be more than what you have to pay out of pocket for the fine, and so therefore it becomes socially justifiable in the name of greed and profit. And that's really what has allowed us and given us the social cover to be able to do this to our planet. So again, there is man is it has become a major contributor for the last 100 years, and it's now starting to take effect. We're seeing it in weird weather patterns. A couple of years ago, I was in Maryland in the middle of August. It felt like early to mid October in Maryland. Like the high for the day was like 56, and the low was like 37. I mean, it was crazy. It like in the middle of August, this stuff. If you watch Ryan Hall, the thing that the cyclone that's in the North Pole that kind of spins our weather pattern,
Right.
it broke a couple years ago. I don't think it's ever been put back together. These are things that we're causing because of not realizing we have unintended consequences. And instead of like taking responsibility, or at least getting in touch with nature, we're just kind of screwing ourselves and kicking the can down the road.
Huh. I mean, do you think it's actually reversible though? You think everything that we've done to the Earth is reversible?
The earth can fix
No,
itself.
no, I'm saying we fix it.
Well, hold on. Is there if the earth can fix itself, then yes, it's reversible. The thing is we've got to stop contributing to it and start assisting it. That's it. The earth does $1 trillion worth of waste processing every single year if you were to monetize it, without us ever having to hire somebody or do anything, because everything is part of an ecosystem. Just like the tortoise, if there's a body of water, you got a tortoise, he's going to make it nice and green and lush, and next thing you know, in a few hundred years, you've got forest and grass, and you've got deer, and you got all kinds of stuff that populate there. And each one of those has a purpose in being able to continue the cycle. So one like dogs are scavengers. Not only that, they pick up sticks, they chew them up, they mulch them up, so it's easier for them to compost in, so that it works for the trees and whatever foliage is there, so that it processes. And so each creature in nature has a role in being able to have a continuous cycle of rebirth, where it gets old, dies, decomposes, becomes part of the roots, and is born again.
You know, you're talking about dogs. I was this was in my notes here, and I guess it's not really weird, but it's interesting. The first dog has been introduced into the Hall of Fame, and it's the I don't know if you ever remember the surfing dog.
Huh.
Yeah,
I've heard of it, but yeah, no, I never really followed that.
yeah. I mean, it was like an interesting little tidbit. I mean, there's been a lot of animal stuff that's been popping up on the news. I mean, like with the raccoons and the sheeps and things. And is some of this to do with the climate? Maybe. I think I think that some of this stuff is more about stuff we have in the environment. I mean, like, do you know that most of the sharks that are in the ocean test positive for cocaine?
Really?
Yes. All of the sharks are crackheads.
How'd that happen?
Well, I mean, you have you have. I mean, for a very long time, you've had, you know, the major way that drugs get moved around is by the ocean, and it's not a very safe thing. So, I mean, pretty much any day of the week, you can go down to Florida and walk down the coast, and you're going to see a brick or two of something. You're supposed to call it in. I don't know how many people do and how many people don't, but it's there.
I need to
Um,
start walking down the Florida coast. I'm curious to see this.
yeah, just go ahead and. I mean, it's not long ago. I seen another report. I mean, there for a while. I mean, I was literally keeping tabs on how many news articles come out of Florida about bricks people find, and I mean, like every time, I mean, I would repost and say, "Why would you say anything?" And then but I mean, yeah, it's a common thing. Either it's a brick of cocaine or it's a brick of money.
Um, so This is from the guy I read. I keep talking about. He said this about 3 or 4 years ago. This is when we were first seeing, like during COVID, when the animals were starting to come in to were starting to come into the city and stuff like that because we were all in lockdown. So during this time, he was saying that that the Earth has reached a point where it's kind of pissed at us, and because it's tapped into our collective consciousness, because we are a creature of nature, which means it is, part of our governance. And so not only will it in the future start turning the animals against man, but it's actually directly affecting our our thought processes and the way our thinking, and actually turning us, pushing us towards psychosis. Which I still don't understand what psychosis is, but this is what he was saying in the article, that the Earth itself is attacking us, and it's attacking us through collective consciousness.
what if we're seeing like, okay, well, what if we're seeing something from, I mean, what if we're feeling, okay, that's a better way of putting this. What if we're feeling something from outer space that is directly affecting us and the animals here and the earth and you know,
The Earth, the Earth is its own living being. It's independent. It's designed to survive and to live out its life, just like every other creature of nature. Everything else that's
I
ever been
I
created is
know, but
living.
I mean, it's apparent that you know outside influences affect the life on Earth because you know that's how you would explain the overgrowth during the time of dinosaurs, the Jurassic period. How big dinosaurs were, how big trees were. I mean, um, in order to feed species like that, you know, the plants had to grow that big. And the animals grew that big for some reason. We don't have animals that big now, so something caused those animals to grow that big. Um, and a lot of scientists have done. I mean, I have even done experiments trying to figure out what was the catalyst that caused this super growth. And some people think it was there was a gravity issue. We didn't have a moon at the time, or the moon that we did have was further away from us, so it was pulling on you know objects and things here on Earth, causing this rapid larger growth. And it's an interesting concept, but something was different. I mean, the only thing that we can officially prove is that there was much higher oxygen content here on Earth at that time, um, which we don't have now. Um,
I think it's because we're on a dying planet. This planet, this is where I keep coming to the conclusion, because if there are other humanoids, even according, I think it was the Blake theory or whatever, where he says that there's somewhere around 40 million inhabited planets in our universe, based upon the law of averages. So that means we've got 40 million planets that have gone through the beginning stages and had dinosaurs. Because even Meyer, he talks about and going to see other planets, and they talk about how you get to see dinosaurs on other planets. So it's not like it just happens here. It's part of evolution for the planets, how it grows up. It starts off as an infant, becomes an adolescent, and then matures, and then goes into its own age. And plus our sun, which kind of dictates the age of the earth, is a dying sun as well. And so it's going to be around for maybe another billion years or two, but
I
then
don't know
it's
if I
going to
would
be
want to see a
gone.
dinosaur. I mean, would you want to see a dinosaur?
I would be fascinated as long as I could observe them from a ship out a window.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you at all.
Because
Um,
that's how he did it, and I'm like, fuck yeah, I would do that. I don't want to go see one. No, I'm too afraid of Jurassic Park.
I'm afraid if we get to the point where we can see dinosaurs and stuff like that, we're gonna have Jurassic Park, and we still might there was a company in yeah, it was Germany. God, I think I've said Germany way too many times this podcast, but um, they was able to take a part of a DNA structure they found in T-Rex flesh that was preserved and was able to recreate it, and they sold the first handbag that was made out of it. How much was it? Did you hear about that?
No.
All right, T-Rex handbag. It was made from the hide.
Wow.
Yeah, world's first T-Rex leather product unveiled. Um, it was designed by Ethan Levy. It says prehistoric meets high fashion as the world's first product made from T-Rex leather, a one-of-a-kind luxury handbag that debuted alongside a Colossus T-Rex statue.
How
Um,
much to sell for?
well, we'll get there. Uh, it says, yeah, I want to make sure I give this the, what they say here. I mean, it says in the world's first. That sounds like Jurassic Park. Sounds more like Jurassic Park than luxury fashion. Scientists, creative, and designers come together to create the world's first product made from lab-grown T-Rex leather. Okay, let's say that again: lab-grown T-Rex leather. A handbag designed to showcase the material's potential, which means they want to make more. Okay, engineered using reconstructed DNA collagen and brought to life without harming a single animal. Apparently, they really want to say that. Um, it says T-Rex leather makes its first public debut in Amsterdam this April. The handbag was displayed alongside a life-size T-Rex statue, making it a prehistoric moment, whatever. And they go on talking about all the scientists that was behind it, and the unveiling took place at an art zoo museum in Amsterdam. Now I remember them saying how much it cost. I can't. I gotta find it. I don't want to get it wrong, but it was up there.
Okay.
Um,
Just so you know, my back is sitting at about 15%, so I've got about maybe another 10 minutes before I got to get off.
okay, it went for $575 million.
Who bought it? Well, like a million, yeah, a billionaire could have bought that shit, but like, I wonder what the real asset value of it is now, because nobody ever bought one after that.
Well, I mean, if somebody buys it, then or somebody did buy it, but I mean, once that happened, it gives it value. What do they call it, eccentric value or whatever, and
Yeah,
then
one of a kind.
yeah, but then that means that they'll probably go ahead and make it, and then you know if they can do that now, then they can make dinosaurs.
Oh dear God, humans, we're curious and we're like children who don't realize that we can get burned by fire.
That's true. That's
You
true.
know,
Um.
so
Well, you said you got about 15 minutes. Well, we've been on for 2 hours and 17 minutes. That's not too bad. Um. Do you feel like picking it up tomorrow?
yeah, I'll actually have more battery tomorrow because I don't have to hustle. I can sit somewhere and charge my phone and do my shit and be fine. I'm probably gonna go up and get a shower at the day center tomorrow.
All right. Well,
So
you go on and go ahead and get some rest and stuff like that, and get your stuff charged. Give me a call in the morning, and I mean we've been this wasn't bad. We were just all over the place, but it's fine. It's fine.
honestly, I think that's what makes us so good. Because if you come in with this is just my opinion. I think that this without I mean, you have structure of like, okay, these are the topics, and you lead us around. but the side conversations, that's what people tune in for, like,
Oh yeah,
because
yeah, I agree.
they're almost way more interesting than the topics at times.
Yeah, well, I mean, the topics are just kind of like things that like, hey, this is some weird stuff going on, and well, there's a few things we didn't touch on that we will probably touch on tomorrow, but the stuff that I had planned for tomorrow is really, 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 really weird.
What kind of weird
You're
stuff?
gonna have to wait till tomorrow for that.
Oh, come on.
No, no. I mean, it is there is some extremely weird stuff that you know. I was like, okay, well, maybe we should talk about it now, and then I was like, no, because
It's
the more I kept finding and the more I kept putting together, um, it's basically like one super large video. I want us now. This isn't tomorrow, but I want us to. Uh, we need to do a breakdown on like all the. You remember me yesterday talking about all these scientists that went missing and stuff like that.
yeah.
Well, we really should do a video about those scientists because after we talked about that and I reached out to some people. That story gets wilder. Um, and there's some other people that talked about it. And would you want to talk about Epstein?
Um, I don't really have much to say on the subject. One of my coworkers, he was reading stuff. I've kind of read some stuff. There's some people in the Meyer community that are up in arms about this stuff. So, um, I mean, I don't really have much to say on it other than it is what it is.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
I agree. I mean, I think it is. He was behind a
I
lot of weird stuff and things like that. But I think it was um what I call a modifier. There's certain events in history that creates modifiers, and modifiers are basically what um, change the way the timeline goes.
yeah, I could see that.
I mean,
Uh, but you know,
these are special events. Um, like 9/11 was a modifier. Um, if 9/11 didn't happen, then things might look a little different right now. Um,
yeah, we wouldn't have the Patriot Act. We still have Glass-Steagall.
yeah,
We wouldn't have COINTELPRO. Yeah, all
yeah.
that stuff.
Like I said, there's these modifiers, and like if you were a time traveler, you couldn't go back and change like major events. You couldn't go back and do certain things, but you could create these modifiers.
Have you
And
watched the show Travelers?
no, no, I haven't. I
You
mean,
should. This is right up your alley.
I mean, wait a minute.
They're you.
Do they live in or do they live in a, or at some point live in a like an old subway station or like underground or something?
The AI, which is they're like follow the plan because they're basically worshiping AI, sends them back to fix the past, and they're groups that inhabit, like their consciousness takes over somebody right as they're dying, so that they can take over and inhabit the body and complete a mission to keep changing time so that they can stop certain events from happening.
Is this a series?
Yes, you can find it on Netflix.
I'm looking it up now. Oh, okay, okay, okay. No, I haven't seen it, but I have heard of it. Okay.
Yeah. Um, it was good. It only lasted like 4 seasons. I kind of wish it's one of those where it's like, why do they keep canceling the good shows?
It's 100% on Rotten Tomato. Wow. All right, you hear that, guys? If you're looking for a time travel show, it sounds like it's body jumping, but yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. If you're looking for a time traveler show, go check it out. I mean, Tuck might be onto something. This is 100% on the tomato meter, and I'm not sure what popometer means, but it's 97%. So, and the other one that is just as high is the boys, which boys is kind of good. So yeah.
I've never seen that one.
Oh yeah, it's cool. It's cool.
Huh. Oh wait, The Boys. Is that about superheroes or something?
Yeah, 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 yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
I have seen that. They like they're basically schlubs.
Huh?
They're like rejects or something like that, aren't they?
Kinda they're all rejects, but they're not like our. They're not like what you would say
It's
superheroes are
like
in
a
Marvel.
family fighting. It's kind of like something like
Yeah,
like
like I
yeah.
mean,
I've seen it.
you have one guy that um he let's see what was his name called. I don't know. I'd have to find him. He's the one that is like has like the fish abilities and stuff, and like in one season, one episode, they're having this big party, and the dude makes out with an octopus. The Boys is a wild show.
Yeah, that's like a Showtime thing. Yeah,
It's
I've
on
seen it.
Amazon.
It's good. Oh, it's Amazon. Okay.
Amazon, yeah, Amazon.
Yeah, that was a good show, but I don't think I saw. I think I only saw like the first season or two. Is it still going?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. The new season just dropped. I think they're in. Uh, I think they're in. Well, I might have to go another way to look it up. But I tried doing it.
Okay. Well, it's probably about season 5 or so. Okay. All right. Well, are we gonna do it at the same time? Or are we gonna do it earlier? Or are we gonna do it at a later?
Same time or later, it's up to you.
I prefer to do it by 7. That way, I can be done by 10. I can get a good night's sleep, and I can, because I like to get up at 6, and I've been getting up at like 7:30, almost 8 o'clock, because I've been going to bed so late the last few days.
I would like to do the later ones on the weekends if that's cool.
Yeah, I could do that on the
Yeah,
weekends. It's
yeah.
just at least being in the city and stuff like that. Like if I'm on a trail side, I mean, yeah, I can stay up as late as I want and sleep in as late as I want, and I don't have to feel guilty. I'm just more worried about ducking and dodging and playing whack-a-mole.
Right. I don't want you to get hurt or get into trouble, and I definitely don't want you to use up all your power. But anyway, um, thank you for joining us, and um, I'll see you tomorrow.
All right, I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.
All right, be good, dude. Everybody that's still here, I would want to thank you for joining us tonight, and everyone that's going to tune in later and watch this. I normally end my videos with "Stay paranoid, my friends." And like I said in the last video at the end, it has taken us a whole lot to get back. Um, and I'm trying to rebuild this and do my best. So please bear with me. Please tell other people that we're back. Please share it if you can. Please help us grow. I got to fix this so I can start loading videos back on Twitch. We're going to start loading them on Spotify. There'll be many other guests that come along. And like I said, I want to hear from you guys. Yeah, I mean, you know how to reach me on Facebook. If you don't, then please ask or send me a message. Add me as a friend on there. Reach out, send me a message, and let's talk. And heck, let me bring you on the show and talk to you. And anything weird that's happened, I want to hear about it. If you just need an ear, come on the show and talk to me. Um, Heck, I'm even thinking about doing like a confession hour, like once a week or something. I think that might be cool. You know, people can be anonymous and do whatever. So other people can live precariously through their lives. You know, we live in a very wild and unpredictable times, and these type of things help. But please be safe out there. And thank you guys from the bottom of my heart for joining us. And please join us on each video. I'm gonna try to do a live stream each night and start adding other content. But once again,